May you manifest every heart's desire. Young you. May you manifest every heart's desire. Judicial systems and politicians, the wicked, prey on the innocent, poverty-like conditions. Popular protocol, populate propositions. Your whole existence is probably out the picture. They out to get you. Foreign DNA in your mixture. Never thought I'd be touring CLA with these lectures. Made the elixir for the people to paint a picture. Clear as day in their brain. We created the scriptures. Genesis, Deuteronomy. Who could round with me on the subject? Keeping their eye on me. Whole society know what's up next. My sobriety flows entirely for the upset. Suppression of truth. Back in the booth. School of coons in the coop, take them back to the roots. I'm a star like a monologue, not jigaboo. Coming hard, you should know the guard higher than you. Couple rappers in the game that I'm trying to chew. Couple countries on the plane, ain't I'm trying to view. I'm divine, you divine, what you trying to do? From my mind to your mind, let's align the crew. Cause every line is a sign, just combine the two. May you manifest every heart's desire. May you manifest every heart's desire. The generation of change, no longer we see meditation is strange. Maybe in different lanes, but the destination the same. Future seeing the wave, you hella late in the game. Gotta deal with the pain, repeating it is the same. Who protecting the culture? Who deflecting the vulture from scooping up all the folks up? Who you respect the most, influenced by and promote? Cause few and few of our role models moving and still a spoke of. For you there's no love. Black civil rights movement got you confused with the rules of the illuminated, like who's related to who. Since the age of 2, made it fool what they say in the school. Don't pertain to you, taint the truth, they playing it cool. Since the age of the noose, we've been making the news. Crooked cops running blocks now, spraying your boo. When the semi-on the Glock now, aiming at you. When it pops bullets, you not gonna be able to chew. May you manifest every heart's desire. Young, hey you. May you manifest every heart's desire. Hey, hey, I am the original man, manifested, arrested inside a physical skin, to spread the message, a vessel of adolescents and kids. Bring them back to the essence of excellence and ideas. The weaponry make us seem lesser than we appear. No ego, the people say it's definitely my year. No question, a blessing, I'm investing it in my peers. The destiny you could see reflecting me in the mirror. Especially the flow hitting you like a shoddy. I be on the way with the metaphysical body. Probably thinking I'm so enlightened, Illuminati. Got me hard to copy, Aki, when you a star seed. The mathematics we synthesize in the ether. Tweak at the highest peak till we split the sides of the speaker. Hypnotize in the street, no preacher or choir either. And redefine your physique from the meek to the fire eaters. I'm Shaka Zulu with it, Baba, do you get it? I don't do the drama, mama, who you kidding? We truly winning, Africana descendants, infinite pennant, from the ending and the beginning. Shaka Zulu with it, Baba, do you get it? I don't do the drama, mama, who you kidding? We truly winning, Africana descendants, infinite pennant, from the ending and the beginning. Blowing smoke in the air high, fly without a choker or hair dye. Relate to kinda grammar, Jesus kinda manner, so we ready when you dare try. Black magic for the lay, just another tragedy today. That'll be the day, no Desert Eagle spray, yeah that'll be the day. Wouldn't it? It's just too much to unpack. It's not suede, it's alpaca, you block that. Cause I'm bringing the block back. Yeah, they catching the contact. Shaka Zulu with it, Baba, do you get it? I don't do the drama, mama, who you kidding? We truly winning, Africana descendants, infinite pennant, from the ending and the beginning, yo. Shaka Zulu with it, Baba, do you get it? I don't do the drama, mama, who you kidding? Truly winning, Africana descendants, infinite pennant, from the ending and the beginning, yo. Just a vibe sometime. Ain't gotta go by the guidelines sometime. You should rhyme sometime. You know, commit a crime sometime. It'll be fine sometime. Get a 3 to 9 sometime. You should be kind sometime. Free your mind sometime. There won't be any time sometime. Cause you won't be alive sometime. You should be fighting for your life sometime. Shouldn't you?
Tell a lot of you.
She want that old thing back. Turn me up the headphones. Turn me up. Yeah. I share. Peace to the gods, I share. Peace to the earths, I share. Peace king. Peace to the kings, I share. Peace queen. Peace to the queens, I share. Yeah, it's peace king when you see me in the street. Proper greeting, to not acknowledge a light being is not the season. No ego, clearly the leader of the people. Vision like Calico, this for my amigos. Leaning on that window of that Rego. I'm praying that one day he gonna be free though. They ran up in the crib while he's peeking through the peephole. Never thought it would be divine evil. Creeping with that heat close. They say I walk around like I got an S on my chest. Now that's a gold-plated no baguettes on my chest. Life a movie, words got special effects. An old school G used to bump Rex and effects. And the Fugees, youngins, know that I'm next. I pump knowledge to the streets so they showing respect. Cause I did it without the fraudulent stories about me blowing a tech. I let the Most High order my steps. Feel me? You gotta know what time it is, man. It's the age of Aquarius. Each one teach one. That's what it is. I share. Peace to the gods, I share. Peace to the earths, I share. Peace king. Peace to the kings, I share. Peace queen. Peace to the queens, I share. The quarterback need protection from the lineman for the yards. More makers in alignment with the stars. Too many MCs lying in your bars. And you wonder why they ain't buying your cars. Like, keep violent cause he won't keep silent about police violence. Keeping both he's firing for the weak and dying. No need for sirens. Third eye eyelids open and vibrant. Jamal Milton shining. Hard to watch a young king get killed and he died over cigarettes. Shit. Steady talking about you real, you ain't let your gat pale for that nigga yet. Shit. And even if we chop the bag off, you probably front like, nah, I need a bigger check. But I just seen you on the internet talking about you been a threat. We sick of that. You know what I mean? You gotta first come up, destroy to rebuild. You dig what I'm saying? You know, you gotta teach the young generation, you know? They don't even know how to speak in the street, you know what I mean? We gotta do what we gotta do. That's how it go. I share. Peace to the gods, I share. Peace to the earths, I share. Peace king. Peace to the kings, I share. Peace queen. Peace to the queens, I share. It don't stop. That's hip hop, it don't stop. It's hip hop, it don't stop. It's hip hop, it don't stop.
Wait a minute. Now you can hear me. What's up, everybody? It's your main man, Mr. X. Get your hand out my pocket. I'm here representing Black High Flyer Network as well. Let me turn off my background music that y'all can't hear. But today's we got a special show today. X Sports for Revolutionaries. We're doing a show on many different platforms. But today we're going to deal with some vaccines. I'm going to bring one of the brothers in, and you're going to be excited when you see our good brother. And I'm going to take that mic, boom. I guess because it's using music. Okay. So we got two guests in, and we're waiting for the second guest. If you all seen the promotions, Brother Curtis Cos and the legendary Dr. Phil Valentine, when we had our discussion the other day when I talked to him, I said, brother, I remember you, Sister Shahrazad was going toe to toe with the brothers and sisters on Donahue, and Donahue had a problem with us fixing the problems of our community, and you stood up, and I said, oh, that's Dr. Valentine. You had the newspaper there, and you were talking about the propaganda of the United States and how they use their media to confuse the masses and paint a picture that usually have us in a negative light. Brother Doctor, you can unmute yourself and we can at least deal with the introductions. This is usually a special score. I usually deal with sports. In this case, very special show, something we have to deal with. My very good friend, Sister Janice Wapaga, sets these things up. She calls me Minister X. I got something on my chest, on my soul, and it's usually something very powerful. She's like a grandmother to me, and so when she brings something to me, I usually just hop to, and it work out very well. So I'll start with you, Brother Doctor, if you want to give an intro to the audience. I'm sure some of your followers will start coming in as well.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're good to go.
Well, I'm Dr. Valentine, and been on the front lines for about nearly 40 years. Seen a lot of the warriors come and go. Stood side by side with them. In a moment of silence and recognition for all my elders who went before me, and brothers like Dr. Africa, Dr. Delbert Blair, a lot of our brothers who have fallen, and sisters who have been doing the work. And it's good to see that young brothers like yourselves and sisters are actually picking up the gauntlet, picking up the torch, moving forward. I have a university that I teach online. I teach the higher metaphysics, classical naturopathy as well, online. And I am planning a major webinar about 2025 to 2030 and what's getting ready to happen. We'll talk about that a little bit today. The webinar is scheduled for, I think the 30th of May. And my telephone number is 800-847-1291, 800-847-1291. You can reach me and or my wife, Dr. Nalani Valentine, and we deal with consultations, private consultations, marital consultations, as well as nutritional consultations. I do vaccination exemptions as well. I created the vaccination exemption program package about 35 years ago, 1981, 82. And it's been going strong since. And a lot of people don't want to have vaccinations. they get in contact with us, and it's worked very well for them. Um, I guess that's it. Those of you who wish to join our university, the next university starts, the next semester starts this month on the 17th, I believe. And that's about it.
All right. I have to give Brother Curtis the link one more time so he can come in, and we'll be dealing masterfully, I believe, with the vaccination. I'm trying to get him in. Hopefully, he'll get in. We can get started right away as he has championed this. I've seen you guys do great interviews with Brother Witch and Brother Sinetta, definitive channels for Black consciousness. And a lot of the people who will come in today and watch this interview, seen previous interviews with those two brothers. So shout out to them. I'll give words back to them. They've done masterful work. But I'll share a little bit about what I've seen locally in regards to the vaccine. And we know that the state has been very hard on people in regards to dealing with the vaccine. And certain brothers' channels have been terminated on social media because they were dealing with it so exclusively and aggressively. But I've seen matter of fact, on my Facebook page, you guys go to DeQuinn Mr. X. I took a 10-minute video of a 50 or 60 person line in the hood, and most of those people were Black people. And I guess we could start off lightly with that. I don't know, brother, have you seen anything like that around the neighborhoods? But what do you say to those that are in these lines turning the corner, and how people are really drinking this propaganda?
Well, I say that they're setting themselves up for extermination. And a lot of people don't understand the gravity of what it is they're doing because they think it's been put into a category called, it's a conspiracy theory, not realizing that the conspiracy theory has actually become and has always been conspiracy fact. There is a massive conspiracy to eliminate and exterminate at least 3/4 of the planet's population because the so-called New World Order that is now being ratcheted up to be placed what we are is to replace the entire old world order or old world thinking paradigm. And that goes for anything that has to do with history. They have taken what was essentially a fictional work by the author of 1984, George Orwell, and made it a manual for the future, and has always had that along with Brave New World as part of the plan. And of course, those books were put out in part of what is called a protocol of predictive programming. So everything you're seeing today with superheroes and what they call enhanced beings and so forth is to kind of get the social population tuned into something that was science fiction before, but now becomes a matter of fact reality because the mind has been preconditioned. It's like tilling the soil before you actually plant the seeds for what is to be harvested. So the mind of the people over the last 25 to 50 years has been slowly but surely plowed so that the seeding, which is what Hollywood did and what the pharmaceuticals have now followed up with, is to get us all preconditioned for the new type of human being, which is being seeded into the bloodstream of everyone, beginning with the first vaccination, which is the nasal swab. That's the first vaccination. People don't understand that they're getting 3 vaccinations: the nasal swab, the first jab, and then the second follow-up. All 3 are part of the protocol for preconditioning the new human.
Unbelievable. Brother Curtis, I asked you the same question. You just came in. Well, actually, what we'll do is we'll give you an introduction so that the people know whom they're speaking to, and then I'll ask that first question. It's a warm-up question, and we'll get right into it. Brother Curtis, if you want to introduce yourself to the viewing audience.
Sure. My name is Curtis Cost. I'm the author of this book here. Vaccines are going to the global community. The first edition of my book came out in 1992. Out there for like 30 years, giving lectures, organizing forums, and trying to get the word out about the dangers of vaccines. And I work with various groups like Children's Health Defense, Millions Against Medical Mandates, and so forth. And I just want to say, I think this COVID vaccine is the most dangerous vaccine that they've ever created. And I think it has potential to kill potentially billions of people, in my assessment. And I want to also say, thanks to my mentor, Valentine, who's guiding me over the years, that I was he knows. I mean, blown away when some things he was saying conflicted with what I thought I knew about viruses and vaccines and things of that nature. And it took a great deal of research to then confirm that what he was telling me was actually true. So it's always when we share the stage, Dr. Valentine.
Thank you, Curtis. And I tell you, if you want to follow that up,
yeah, my pleasure.
Curtis is one of the more advanced spiritually and highly intelligent people who actually followed up. A lot of people I've given this information to kind of looked at it and kind of talked over the water cooler the next day at their job. Curtis took the information and was never actually put off by my resisting what he was researching. He actually was teachable, and that's what makes a great teacher and a great leader, one who is teachable, because you can't pass it on to somebody who isn't ready. And this man has taken it, written twice, published twice, had it republished, and that book is going to become the Bible for our community. And I think that's the next thing that everybody should have. They should be walking with that in their purse, and they should have that being taught to the children. So yeah, Curtis is one of the brightest spots for our future tomorrow.
Before you came on, Brother Curtis, I asked.
Thank you. It's very, very good. Sure.
All right, Dr. Valentine, about what I've seen in my local city, and the fact that people had lines going down the street to get vaccinations, and most of them were Black people. What do you say to those people?
I'll try and be kind, but they're absolutely insane. Or better yet, they are hypnotized, brainwashed, because it makes no sense for anyone who takes a little bit of time to research this subject to go and get a vaccine. First and foremost, COVID is no different than a common cold and the common flu. If you look at the symptoms of the common cold, common flu, it's the same symptoms. And if you look at the survival rate for those who do develop some of these symptoms, if you look at what the epidemiologists say, epidemiologists, these are the people who track the incidence of disease across America and around the world. They say the death toll in 2000 was at best no worse than a bad flu season. And you look at the numbers, you see that there's no significant difference in the overall death toll in 2020 than in previous years. Yet, when you watch the news media, you're given the impression that the situation is far worse. And they literally have gone their way to create fear and panic in people. What they've done is that they've given hospitals an incentive to lie. Every time somebody goes into a hospital or claim to be tested for COVID, if they test positive, at least in New York State, it's 13,000. I think it's more in other states. They get a check, 13,000, just because you test. So now you have this incentive to falsify information. In fact, we have a nurse who's gone public, and she took it undercover camera and showed that the patients who had tested negative were still written up as positive because they want that $13,000 check. And of course, they're giving a $13,000 check to inflate the numbers of cases. That's what they terrorize the public with the case numbers. And then on top of that, each person that is placed on a ventilator, the hospitals getting like $39,000. So you go into a hospital with a broken leg, they want to try and put you on a ventilator, and the 20% end up dying. Ventilator is not the first course of action when somebody's having breathing. It's the last course of action for a lot of reasons. I can go into details later, but they would get this check for $39,000. So the was that can in New York we had he needed 40,000 ventilators. 40,000. Well, that was the death sentence. And again, they want the death count to be high. They can then continue to scare the public into believing that there's something serious going on when in fact there isn't. And in fact, even the CDC reported, well, back up, CDC actually issued guidelines to doctors that they could death certificates. Del Bigtree pointed out this in his show, Wire, so have many others. Basically, doctors were told that if a person dies, even if they have not been tested for COVID, you can still write them down as a COVID death if you just got a hunch that they may have had COVID. So inflating the numbers, and we have a situation where people who had terminal cancer, and everybody knew they were going to die, yet they're written up as COVID deaths. You have people in hospices. You go into a hospice because everybody knows you're going to die in a couple of months, a couple of weeks, and they make you comfortable. Even when deaths occur in hospice, they were written up as COVID deaths. We even have cases, this was reported in the CDC's own report, I think in October, and One American News have been even because being given, understood through Medicare for each person listed as a COVID death. So we have a situation where the powers that be have been going out of their way to create fear and panic, do not justify that fear. Why on earth would you want to go and get a COVID vaccine which has not even been approved by the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA? Most people don't realize that. Can you hear me clearly? I'm hearing other sounds on the. Am I coming through clearly?
I can hear you. There's a background.
Can you hear
it's
me?
Not me. I can hear you though.
Yeah, there's no sound. There's no sound on my end, so I don't know where it's coming from. Okay, people realize that the COVID vaccine is experimental. It's only approved emergency use authorization. That means it's experimental, and the preliminary tests that the trials that they had, they were just preliminary. The trials are right. When you take that COVID vaccine, you are the guinea pig. And then have in their literature, they'll say that this experiment shall end in 2022 or 2023. This is the experiment. So you take an experimental product, and people also know no job force you or push you into taking this vaccine. Anything that's approved for emergency use cannot be required. You cannot hurt. And children's health who I work with, they have lawyers ready to take on anybody who tries to compel their employees to take this COVID vaccine. That is a violation of federal law for them to do that. So there are a lot of reasons why people should not be taking this vaccine. Plus, I mean, this is not even a vaccine. The term we now is calling it an injection or a shot, because a vaccine would normally has to have the actual in it. These vaccines, the Pfizer, SARS-CoV-2 virus in it, and that really makes a difference because they haven't even purified. They don't even have a purified sample of this virus. But there's no virus in it. The normal theory is that you give the person a virus and they have an antibody response. Now there's a lot of questions about that scenario, but that's the standard route for how a vaccine works. There is no SARS-CoV-2 in this vaccine, and so what they're putting in your body is totally genetically engineered material, and this stuff is going to force your cells or turn your cells into manufacturing plants to spike proteins, those little knobs that's supposedly on the SARS-CoV-2 virus. There's a lot of questions about that, but that what you're going to be producing is not spike proteins to this SARS-CoV-2 virus, but spike proteins to the genetically engineered Frankenstein material that they put in your body. And so we don't know what that's going to lead to. It's not designed to stop SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19. Say it in the literature. If you look at the literature that these companies submit to the Food and Drug Administration, they even say this is not designed to prevent COVID. They tell you should still wear a mask, you should still social distance, you should still be tested regularly. Then what's the point in taking the vaccine? People under the impression that this vaccine is supposed to protect you, but they may protect you from anything. In fact, they're not even studying transmission. So, I mean, what's the point in taking a vaccine where you take the vaccine and you can still transmit it to somebody else, the disease, assuming you believe that. There's a lot of questions about this, whether the SARS-CoV-2 virus actually exists. But I'll stop there to allow more questions and commentary from Dr. Valentine.
Yes, sir, Dr. Valentine. The specifics of the vaccine. Can we divulge in the specifics in the vaccine? What's in the vaccine that's harmful to our people?
Well, the substances are the adjuvants.
Oh, well, the thing is, we don't even know all this. Oh, Dr. Valentine, go ahead.
The adjuvants, which are supposed to enlist a defensive response, or what they call an immune response, to the actual material that would then train the blood to protect you if such a material should enter your body. It would have already manufactured the defense mechanism, which shows that they don't have a clue as to how the body actually works. The body does not have little soldiers riding around in your bloodstream ready to attack somebody. That's the sign of a militaristic mind. They want to impose how they think, how their military strategy works with the way the body works when it defends itself. That's not how it works. The body is about retaining or holding on to as much energy as possible. So that conservation of energy is what gives you health. The storing of vital force in excess is to act as the defensive mechanism. What they do is cripple the body's ability to respond. That's what a vaccine does. It lowers your response time and your response capabilities. Healthy people in such a poisoned environment would always seem to be ill in some way, shape, or form. So what they're trying to do is to, quote, mitigate your responses. But what that does is just seed other diseases later on, because you're suppressing the reason why the body would even defend itself. So not only the adjuvants, mercury and all these things they say they don't put in there, but it's the mRNA material that they've placed in there that has changed the nature of the common cold. So what we have essentially, like I said, it's a three-part system. Vaccination begins with the nasal swab. The nasal swab contains a carcinogenic coating. And when you look up what it is that they have on the tip of the nasal swab, it's a carcinogenic chemical. And they're telling you that's for preserving the material that comes out. That's a lie. It's about placing a carcinogenic material in your body so that your body will give a so-called flu response so that they can now put it up as you being positive. The reason for it is because by 2025, they want most of the old world situations that you see, old world cultures, old world anything, to be gone from the planet. As Curtis mentioned earlier, they want at least 3/4 of the planet dead and buried. And they have these coffins for multiple bodies, and you see it down in Atlanta, Georgia. There is a place there in the military, around by the military camps down in Atlanta, Georgia, where they have coffins that can actually take up to 4 or 5 fully formed human beings. So they have a plan to eliminate. What they want to do also with this COVID farce is to introduce the fusing of biological life with robotic life. And biological and robotic life, again, has been preconditioned into your mind when you're looking at Iron Man and all the rest of these things. Also, the material that you have in you, each one of us may have something to the order of 50 to 100,000 nanoparticles coursing in our system right at this time. And what we are being done, what is happening to us is that they are seeding the bodies so that we become broadcast input output, give off an input output signal based on our bioelectricity. So these nanoparticles, or what they call smart dust, is coursing in people's body, and a lot of us are healthy enough to reject them. That's why a lot of people have this cough. And the more you're coughing, the more you feel headachy, tired. These are the symptoms that the body is going to give off when it's fighting these nanoparticles, especially. This materials that they're putting into your brain. There's a part called the cunifex area. It's a part to the brain up into the nasal pharynx. Right there, there's a little airy bone, a very porous bone. And that's when you see them shove that all the way down into your nostrils and up right here by the cruciform. I forgot the name of it. It starts with CUFI. I'll get it again in my brain. But what they do is they start twisting it so that the particles that are on the end and what they call these living, synthetically created, what they call life forms, silicon life forms, that people who have Morgellons, at the end of these swabs are the Morgellons. And these Morgellons are silicone life forms that retain and contain little magnetic nanoparticles that migrate themselves into your bloodstream. A lot of people are rejecting them. They see these little strands coming out of the skin. So you have to look at the fact that the seeding program, or the program that they're dealing with, where they're actually getting you to take the medication, to go for the testing. All of these are part of what Bill Gates had put together. You might end up with skin rashes, but you find you find yourself scratching, and there's an itch or something, or a ringworm or something comes out of your skin. My wife just gave me, it's the cuneiform plate up here in your spine. Thank you, dear. So what happens now is, how do you fight this situation? Well, a lot of people have been calling me because they've been hearing voices in their head. Part of the program is to see who's susceptible, because sometimes when this material is traveling, it gets caught up, it crosses the blood-brain barrier, but what it's doing is, the blood-brain barrier is like a mesh. It's porous, but it protects. It doesn't allow certain material from one side to the next or into the brain. This material circumvents the defenses of the brain, and it gets into the blood-brain barrier. But the materials are made and manufactured such that they stay in the blood-brain barrier, and people can broadcast signals to the brain that has these nanoparticles in there and think that they have voices in their head, hearing people talking to them about killing themselves, about people who are saying that they're spirits and they're being visited by dead people and so forth. So everything that seems to be science fiction today is actually science fact. The next thing will be the invasion from aliens, so that the new world order will come together, whereas countries will no longer have borders because we have a threat from outer space or inner space down below in the underground, dumbs as they call them. So what you're looking at is the COVID test and vaccine is to create patents of the human race. In other words, all animal, vegetable life, all sea life, all are going to have a barcode. And the ultimate end is the fusing of the biological with the robotic. And so they're seeing now that cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, all of that's being pushed on us right now to get us on the grid, because the AI system, the B system, the AI system, the artificial intelligence system, I mean the massive global AI system, is up and running, and they are beta testing it right now on those who have been vaccinated. They're beta testing it on animals that they've been following on the sea. They're beta testing even insects, birds. They're beta testing to see if the matrix can actually all be plugged in, including humans, and to get rid. But you see, the last thing, the reason why they must kill off the old folks is because the blood of the old folks does not have the same type of pollution that the children now have, and have been susceptible, have been made susceptible with. The old folks have the purest genetics, which is why they have to wipe out most of Africa. They have to kill off the elder genes, because those genes, especially the black genes, fight this. They cannot get to you. So they have to preliminarily wear you down. So they're going to go in there with the testing. The testing is going to come back, and they're going to now watch after this series. There's going to be a phase 2 and a phase 3, all leading up to 2025, when they're going to see mass exterminations. But now that they're showing you all of the people who have been tested and all these people that they're coming out and say they got cases, all of a sudden, this news is going to disappear from the media. You're not going to see the aftermath. You're not going to see the deaths being reported. The deaths are being reported now to scare you into taking on the death machine, to willingly come and go through self-extermination. After the extermination begins in mass levels, you will not see anything having to do with COVID anymore, because the first part of the phase of elimination will have been put into effect. And too many people will be dying. Too many people will be falling sick, falling out on the streets. They will not be showing that. The only thing we have, hopefully, is broadcast medias like your own.
Brother Curtis, you had a Q&A with Robert F. Kennedy,
Yes.
and considering, I have to call him a brave man, considering the history of his family, of them either being whistleblowers or having gotten to bad faith with some of the more powerful entities on the planet, and him coming forth. What was that like, that experience, and what did you guys uncover?
Well, it's always fascinating when I do an interview with Mr. Kennedy, or when we meet in person. He's a great researcher. I mean, absolutely phenomenal researcher. I always learn many new things in my conversations with them, or interviews and things of that nature. He's one of my heroes, like Dr. Learning new things from them, and they're both extremely brave. They both are what I refer to as giant killers. They don't have a problem with going after the giants, the entity that most people are afraid of, and telling the truth and telling it like it is. And so it's always an honor to be with Mr. Kennedy and Dr. Valentine, and because they're putting out truth. I encourage people to take some time and go to the Children's Health Defense website, because he has a wealth of information, and it's a great source for doing research. So if you want to find out the death count on folks taking the vaccine, you can go there. If you want to find out what are the latest trends in terms of the health of American children, which is really horrendous since all these new vaccines have been given to these kids, Children's Health Defense is, because everything is thoroughly referenced. I mean, I've submitted some articles which were published there, and they have lawyers going through it left and right, and some government sources and medical reference, and they cross-check with news sources. So I have great respect for Mr. Kennedy and the Kennedy family for the many things they've done for Black people and people in general. And Yes, an honor. And I will say this, since I mentioned the Children's Health Division's website, you should also go to the film Medical Racism. It's free to do. Is go there, and sign up, and it's free. And in that film, for the history of experimentation and abuses by the medical establishment against African, this country and around the world. So they go back to the slave period and the experimentations that were done on the slaves, the Tuskegee experiments, which a lot of people are familiar with, and it was Senator Kennedy who had that 40-year experiment, but they would have just kept it going. And it covers the horrendous things with the CDC, in which they found out that there caused autism in young Black boys at a rate of if the vaccine was given to them before the age of 3. I don't support giving any vaccines to anyone unless it's been thoroughly proven to be safe and effective, things of that nature, and conform. But knew that the vaccine caused, or their own scientists produce this information, and instead of just saying, well, we're not going to give this vaccine to Black boys under the age of 3, they ordered their doctors to turn over their reports, and they buried it. I mean, liberal set up Black boys for autism. And right now, it's estimated around 200,000 Black boys in America suffer from many of those is believed to be the result of the CDC withholding, creating the impression that the measles vaccine was safe. Now, these are the same characters who are now pushing the COVID vaccine. So none of them has gone to jail. They haven't been fired. And we're supposed to roll up our, as you mentioned, people lining up to get a vaccine from the people, things like this. It was the CDC that was running the Tuskegee syphilis experiments. And it goes on and covers the horrendous things that's being done in Africa, as Dr. Valentine alluded to. I mean, giving vaccines dangerous and a ban in this country over to there. They put out vaccines that, with components that causes sterility and many other things. So it really covers a historical perspective of the crops, experiments, and just downright evil things that they have done to African people. And I will also say that while the film Medical Racism, the New Apartheid, focuses on treatment of African people, they've done this to everybody. I mean, they have systematically white kids, India and other parts of the world. If you watch the film Vax 2, the first half of the film focuses on the children who receive vaccines like Gardasil and horrific adverse reactions. I mean, lives destroyed. In one case, it was a young girl who had tubes all in her, and her whole day was paralyzed. In other venues, I never heard of a person having a paralyzed digestive system. And there's another young man who had all to live for, very athletic, vaccine, I think it was the Gardasil vaccine, got bars and wires all in him. And the young man ended up committing suicide because, it was just so traumatic. And he said he didn't want to be a burden to his family. But the second half of that film, Vax 2, focusing on those families where the parents chose not to vaccinate the children. And in each case, the parents were reporting the exact same. Kids were healthy and strong, rarely ever got sick. I mean, if they did get sick, they recovered quickly. Even situations where the first child of the family was vaccinated and has all kinds of problems, and they didn't have another child with no vaccines, we see even the same environment, the vaccinated continue to have all kinds of health problems, take a long time to recover, where the unvaccinated kids were perfectly healthy. And that particular scene in the film, that or segment of the film Vax 2, really over the decade, I've given lectures and had parents come up and just hug me and thank me for my book, because after reading my book and doing their own research, they chose not to vaccinate their children. And the end result was their kids were healthy, perfectly fine. And they also told me that all the neighbors' kids who were vaccinated, they're the ones who had autism and diabetes and respiratory problems and cancer and everything else. So, and in this film, I think almost everybody in this particular film was white. So a lot of bad things to black folks, they're doing it to white folks too, and even rich white folks. I deal with a lot of people who are Caucasian, very affluent, and had high hopes for their kids going on to Harvard and Yale, and that was all destroyed in a moment of incorrect decision, and they vaccinated. And now the child is autistic for life or have other problems. So they do a lot of bad folks, and we have every reason to be concerned about these people. And we also need to be concerned that, zip code, they can get a pretty good profile of you. They have of your racial background, economic status, and so forth. How do we know if the things being given in predominantly black community is the same thing being given to other communities? How do we know? And we have very good reasons to be concerned. And so, yes, also with regards to this, people lining up for the COVID vaccine, I'm part of the meet with famous doc scientists, research every week, twice a week. And we meet, and you know what the consensus is about this vaccine? Everyone who takes this vaccine is dead. There's no debate. Everybody agrees with, as Dr. Valentine was alluding to, as a biological weapon. That's the thinking among these world famous doctors, scientists, New York authors and things. They're dead. It's a harsh thing to say, but that is the sentiment. And we spend significant time talking about the importance of emotionally pulling away, because when we have friends, family who we try to warn about the dangers of this vaccine, it's very challenging emotionally. Same thing when doctors have patients who warn them about these vaccines and they go ahead anyway. It's very difficult for a doctor with conscience to see that kind of situation. And so we talk about this pulling away and trying to maintain our sense of balance. And I've tried to do that over a period of all these years, because I've seen so many pictures, heard so many stories with so many parents that I had to learn to emotionally pull away so I don't get too emotionally involved so that I can remain effective. But I think people need to know that honest doctors and scientists with impeccable credentials, their feeling is you're dead. This stuff is messing with your genes. We don't know what's going to happen over the course of the next 2 to 5 years. There are indications that it lowers your immune system, makes you more. Already, we're seeing a situation. If you go to VAERS, Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, which is the government's own statistics on tracking reports of vaccine injuries. Right now, we have about 2,500 reported cases of death following the vaccine. Now, that's bad enough. There are people online, I don't even know that the vaccine has caused any deaths. I've had people say that. It hasn't killed anybody. It hasn't caused any harm. That 2,500 number, that's just the tip of the iceberg, because the VAERS reporting system has been based on research. It's a Harvard study, only captures about 1% or less number of injuries and deaths. And that's because most people don't know what VAERS is. They don't know how to file a VAERS report. Most doctors don't know what VAERS is. And the ones that do file a report because they don't want to attribute injuries or deaths to a vaccine. So all these things are, so they say about 1%. So if we take that 2,500 and we multiply it by 100, then the actual number far in this country is something like 250,000 deaths. Not reported yet, but based on the estimates, that is what the number should look like. It's probably higher than that because it's really less than 1%. But if you use 1% to keep it simple, there's probably about 200 people in America right now who have died shortly after taking this vaccine. And in terms of adverse reactions, the number right now is like 50,000. So that means it's about 5 who suffered adverse reactions serious enough to be reported in VAERS. So this vaccine is very, very dangerous. Now, there may be protocols, and if there are, I'm sure Dr. Valentine knows, that might potentially reduce, minimize some of the adverse effects. And Dr. Valentine will be the one more qualified about that. But barring who might be able to have some protocols, it's a death sentence.
Dr. Valentine, you talk a lot about the deep state, and is this more because we see mostly the Democrats pushing the vaccines? We have Democratic following entertainers and actors of our ilk. Has always been the parameters of the state to utilize these functioning entities that they have basically are slaves, high priced slaves, to do and help their bidding. So is this more of a Democratic push or a deep state thing? Oh, you're muted, Dr. Valentine.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Democrat, Republican, these people, they are of the same bird, so to speak. Left wing, right wing, same bird. They all work for a few families that are now initiating this plan. There is the Democratic and Republican. First of all, the government doesn't exist anymore. Washington D.C. has been closed down. It's been foreclosed, actually. They couldn't pay the debt. Biden is a pseudo president. He's being run by the military right now. So the military, everything you see right here is a new, what they call the global reset, the New World Order, they used to call it. Now it's the Great Reset, the greening, the Green New Deal, all of this. All of it has come together under what we call Agenda 21 2030. And this is essentially not a political thing. It's essentially a worldwide elitist plan and prosecution of a particular protocol to eliminate life on this planet and re-envision it using technology. For the last 10 years, if any of you have been paying attention to any of my lectures, maybe even 15 years, I've been speaking about this since 2000 when the so-called millennial came up. I did something in Atlanta, if you're in Atlanta, called nanogenetic mind control. It was way ahead of its time. I spoke about the fact that they will be changing your genetics and that they will no longer need to use chips in your head. Now we found out that they're using things like hydrogel and quantum dot technologies, where they put what are known as self-assembling synthetic genetics into your body that, with an electrical shock, as they're giving you this new vaccine to follow up, it will undermine the tensor, the tension or the tensor strength of the outer wall of the cell, allowing the material to breach the outer wall that would never have been allowed into the cell. That material then migrates in the cell towards the nucleus and then binds with the genetic coding in there, so that now I don't know if you've seen this, but right on the genetics, they have the ability to actually write and put their own brand or their own signal or their own sigil. Say, for instance, you see Bell Labs or Monsanto, they can actually put that onto one of your genes. They have a corporate logo that they can place on the genetics that blend with your genetics, making you part of them. It's like what they say, if you were to, for instance, have a organic garden over here, and you have a Monsanto genetically engineered garden over here, if any of their seeds migrate over to yours and then blends with your crop, and they then take a sample under the microscope and see their genetic imprint on any of your food, they say that's a breach of copyright. Well, what they're doing right now is patenting you in the same manner. They have been able to put a short loop of a man riding a horse on a gene and actually show you the picture of this jockey on a horse being read by a electron microscope on a gene. So what they're doing essentially is the vaccine contains this self-assembling genetic code that then courses directly through your bloodstream. And then your body begins to acclimate to it because the material they're using is acceptable because they're taking it from certain animals and certain humans. The very fact that they're using human genetic codes of male and female fetuses, the body recognizes human genetic material. So the abortion of children and the killing of them when they even are born is to use their parts, their genetics, as keys that would override the body's ability to recognize an alien artifact fusing with their genetic code or phase with their bloodstream. The only way that I see things happening that help people is if they get very large magnetic plates, 4,000 Gauss and up, and place it in certain areas when they want to undermine the input-output signal that your body will be giving off. The same way that 5G is what's making you more susceptible to the ability for that genetic material to get into your bloodstream, to get into your cells, because the 5G undermines the tensor strength of the cells, making them more permeable to the poisons, making it more permeable to the nanodust that is being put into your bloodstream. The same thing. This is what they call the fibrogel, or what they call hydrogel. That hydrogel is going to be the segue. It's going to be the means by which they can breach all defenses. How do you fight it? With health. Fighting it knowing that you have to put into your body the materials that your organic body self will recognize. We recommend Juice Plus. You can call me at the 800 number, 847-1291, 800-847-1291, and you will end up speaking with my wife. That material is excellent because it is concentrated food, not a vitamin. That's a stimulant. This is a nutrient, and you need more nutrient-based materials to fight this thing. Now you may take your sea moss and all of this. That's good. That's like a supplemental food. But you need nutrition that the archetypal genetics recognize so that they can maintain their own response integrity to fight off what it is this beast is doing. So you can call for that information regarding the Juice Plus, as well as the vaccination exemption package. So you don't have to even deal with the testing, with any of the vaccinations. I've been getting good reports back from people who say that they submit my paperwork and the people are not compelling them because they know it's an experiment. But anyway, all vaccines are experimental. Why? Because they are not an exact science. No vaccine manufacturer will tell you that the vaccination paradigm is an exact science. Therefore, ipso facto, if it is not an exact science, it is an experimental science. And FN12, the Nuremberg Code, states that if there is an experimental going on with another human being, the human being that's being used in the experiment, the doctor must also take the same materials that the experimentee is taking. Your doctor is not vaccinating his children. He knows She knows. Okay? They are not vaccinating their own. And the ones who do regret it and jump out. So I say, if you want to deal with the getting your body strong, get into a better way of eating, deal with the Juice Plus, and also deal with the vaccination exemption package.
Brother Curtis, let's go more into what can be consumed um, to combat the virus. We talk about, my wife's a nurse. Shout out to my beautiful wife. We're talking about that sickness and illness starts in the gut, and what things we can consume for those who would be McDonald's and Burger King. Because when this thing first started, we were talking about people and what they were consuming regularly that would, once this virus, so-called virus, came, that it would really attack them. So let's go into the different types of foods, the proteins, or vitamins, or whatever have you that can be taken.
Well, the person really to deal with that would be Dr. Valentine. But what I because I know we're running shortly. I want to tell people how they can actually get my book. Vaccines Are Dangerous. I want you to go community. Just go to www.vaccinesaredangerous.blogspot.com. So it's www.vaccinesare, spelled A-R-E, dangerous.blogspot.com. And you can order my book. I autograph and date all of my books. And don't get it from Amazon, because Amazon has been, doing funny things, and they got people collector copies for as much as $120. You can just order it from my website, and I autograph it and date it. The website has lots of specially selected videos on various aspects of vaccines, as well as so carefully selected articles on different aspects of vaccines. I would say, first and foremost, for the vast majority of cases, people who have some symptoms, do the same things you would do with the common cold or common flu. I mean, it's not a death. You cough or sneeze, you have things that you've always done. You rest, maybe some chicken soup or whatever, instead of imagining that you have something many times worse. And that's really important, because somebody sneezes and everybody else in the area go into a panic. Now, people were sneezing before it came around. We got to reduce the fear. I mean, I hear people say, "Oh, I had COVID," or "I have friends who died of COVID." Then I said, well, "How do you know they died from COVID?" Well, the doctor said, and the way you can know is by a test. And the test being used is the PCR test. With the PCR test is that the inventor of PCR, Dr. Kary Mullis, who won the Nobel Prize for inventing PCR, he has publicly stated, and you can watch his YouTube videos online, his invention misused, not meant to determine somebody has a viral infection. And you need to probably go to BitChute, type in Kary, Kary, Mullis, Mullis, and just type in PCR. He'll say it multiple times. So you got to ask yourself, should you trust the person who invented it and won a Nobel Prize for PCR, or should you trust the corporations test? So the test is absolutely 100% worthless. Even those who advocate the test will admit there's like 90 to 90% false positives. So why would you want to take a test that's 90, 97% false positive? And I would say it's 100% false positive, because there's no proof that it's been purified. No isolate has been obtained and purified. So you can't have a test for something without a gold standard. The gold standard would be the actual virus. They don't have that. And you can look at the works of Dr. Dave Rasnick, Dr. Andrew Kaufman. Look for all the papers. Nowhere do they see any proof that this so-called virus has ever been isolated and purified. And so that basically means they have been fools of the entire world. except for those who are astute enough to know what to look for. So those who believe that they have something, well, you guys, so how do you know that? And only with PCR test, and they want a PCR test to put out scary numbers. I mean, there's something they can put it this way: they can a parameter for the test, so they can set it that very few people test positive, or they can set it where everybody tests positive. And it said that I think over 30 cycles. Think of a cycle as magnification on a camera or other lens. Above 35 cycles, everybody. So what's the cycles that they typically use? About 45. So that's where you get all these people saying that being told they have COVID, not because they're sick. You know, perfectly healthy people walking around who test positive, and now they're being quarantined and told you got to and all these. It's meant to scare people, so people got to stop living in fear and start treating this more as natural condition. Now, there may be, and probably is a phenomenon also going on, as Dr. Valentine talked about with the nanoparticle dust. I haven't done the research just on the details. It says that I know it's going to be true, but I'm searching for myself like I always do, so I can speak on it intelligently. But aside from that, I mean, people do get sick. A big deal. You got a cough or sneeze, whatever. And it was Dr. Time who first taught me many years ago. I mean, I used to have throat infection, colds, and everything else all the time. Always went to the doctor, getting penicillin and everything else. I mean, that it's not something, it's some mysterious boogeyman virus. It's your own immune system. And if you learn how to detox through enemas and things, and eating certain things, getting sick goes down dramatically. Since I've learned Dr. Valentine, I rarely ever get sick. It happens once in a while, but rarely. Before it was like every couple of months. And I know people who've had their whole life turn around just from that basic understanding that it's not germs, the whole germ theory. That's a bunch of nonsense. The people believe the germ theory, the ones that are the sickest, because those are the ones who are taking all the vaccines and taking all the other drugs. The people believe in the terrain theory that it's about your body and what you and the strength of the immune system that determines whether you get a cold or flu or you get swollen tonsils or anything else. And so, in terms of regimens for minimizing your health risks, I mean, Dr. Valentine asked that question.
Okay, excellent, excellent. For people that's coming in and listening to the show, this is Brother Curtis Carlson, Brother Dr. Valentine. We're discussing the vaccines. We've seen an enormous amount of our people going to the lines to get vaccinated. We've had Mayor Cuomo and his shenanigans having a sister, I believe, that was from actually my local neighborhood. I haven't tracked her down yet, but she had a 10-second video that kind of went viral through some black social means saying that she would take the infusion regardless of what was in it. What do you say, Dr. Valentine, to people who say things like the sister said, you don't care what's in the infusion, that other solidified doctors are pushing these vaccines on to our people? And did you see the advent, quote unquote, of COVID-19 years ago? You said something about 2000 that you had
Yeah,
suggested this
I
thing was coming.
because as a naturopath, you study that the body is never attacked by anything. The body's defenses give you symptoms, and the doctors today have simply uh, codified symptoms as the cause. They never get to the cause of the symptoms. They treat the surface with the symptoms. For instance, the word COVID in the COVID 19 has nothing to do with the actual quote unquote virus itself. The word COVID was actually a intelligence uh, word, which is compiled of COVID. COVID is Certificate of Vaccination Identification. Let me repeat that. Certificate of vaccination ID, identification. COVID-19 is 1 and 9. 1 is A in the alphabet, and 9 is I. So COVID-19 that they've been drilling into your heads is certificate of vaccination identification through AI. Now, the next stage, if you just noticed, I think it happened in Sweden, it's happened in Australia, and I believe there was up in New York is being introduced that you have to have a vaccine passport in order to either go to your job or travel, even to get on the subway. A vaccine passport. Well, that is the ID part of the COVID name. So your certificate of vaccination identification is to hook you up or to know that you are hooked into or legitimately and the final stages of you being hooked into the AI. That's what that's about. Now, as far as the symptomologies that you're dealing with and how to strengthen your body, natural foods, staying away from a lot of mucus making foods because the mucous membranes are what the air and the water and the specific types of genetically engineered foods, that's where you are being attacked, your mucous membranes, because you see, the vaccine paradigm is contrary to life. Why is that? Well, there are two stages that represent your most prolific defense system. There is no such thing as an immune system. That is a lawyer's term. You get immunity even if you have perpetrated a crime. You may get off with a lighter sentence. You may get off completely and don't have to serve any sentence. Nature doesn't work like that. You have a defensive system that can be compromised. Defenses can be compromised. So that's what you're seeing as far as the vaccination identification program. You are being compromised with what it is that they're doing to you. They're giving you this injection. Now, the other thing is they're imposing a vaccine paradigm on you and telling you that you cannot work, you cannot travel, you cannot even buy food unless you've done this. This is contrary to the Constitution, which is where, as an ordained minister, you have to use, as an indigenous, a person who deals with their autochthonous status, you have to deal with the Constitution and deal with it through the state's constitution, because they cannot, the law of the land, the supreme law of the land can never be breached, no matter if it's a medical or any military emergency. The Constitution does not come down for either one. And what they're doing is, because of the public's ignorance, they're making you believe that they can actually take steps or measures that override your individual rights as a human being. They cannot do so. And because the people have been so fearful of what's been happening, they show you death and sickness and they worry you with fear. The people, in their fear, are not thinking. They're not taking the time to deal with critical thinking along this matter. It's not about critical thinking because you come up with solutions for yourself. So, as far as the question that you've asked, I may have gone in circles to give you an idea of what may be happening, but there's so much information that is not being given to our people that Curtis and I have to essentially go all the way around the mulberry bush, because if we tell you one thing, there's something missing that supports that thing. And it's very difficult to try to kind of mesh them together to get the people to understand how important the information that we're giving them is. And yes, I go all the way back to 2000. I did know about what was getting ready to happen because I deal with metaphysics. I'm a teacher. I'm a doctor of metaphysics as well. One of my doctorates is in metaphysics. And I teach in the university about the mind. And the people who come to me with the mind controlment, when they take my course, they understand what it is that these people are attacking. They're not attacking you. They're attacking the avatar, this. They're attacking this, making you think what they want you to think. But if your observer knows the difference between your thoughts and the intelligence under which your observer operates, the observer can know what thoughts belong to you and which thoughts don't. So in our school, my students here, are you thinking your thoughts or are your thoughts thinking you? And when you understand that distance, that you are not your thoughts, you have only accepted that you are your thoughts. Thoughts are the programming of the past. If you go to your thoughts in the past, you will consistently fail to see what is now and what is capable of being. So, this is where we want you to understand, as far as your mind is concerned, your body, the juice plus, proper eating, things that don't attack your mucous membranes, like certain meats, ice creams, milks, dairy, all of these that create an excess amount of mucus that the body has to throw off, that causes the body's defenses to fall. And we can help you with that because we do have programs for people who have different conditions, diabetes, heart conditions, high blood pressure, and so forth. So after doing this nearly 40 years, I'm 70 now. After doing this so long, what can I tell you? I can help you. I'm not a healer. Don't come to me like that. But I can facilitate and teach you what you need to do for yourself.
Brother Curtis Calls, you've and I've seen in your previous interviews, you've had a lot of resources. Like you've had a lot of different people come on and validate your information, your research. So you've had more or less a team. Can you give some of those people and some of the things that they deal with specifically dealing with COVID and the vaccination?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I deal with lots of people who focus on COVID on many different areas in terms of the vaccines and the lies being told to the public about social distancing, face masks, and things of that nature. I mean, the full gambit. And I tell you this: that when I first got started with this, it was me and not many others out there challenging the narrative on vaccines. I mean, I was giving lectures, organizing forums, setting up demonstrations and things. And now, though, we have a movement. We have millions of Americans around the world fighting this. We have organizations, and we have very powerful forces. Some are public, and most aren't. Who will support what would, and you're seeing some things happening now. You're going to be seeing a lot more. I guarantee you. I mean, we lawsuits being filed right now in New York City, for example, against the Board of Education over their mandatory testing of students. Now, cannot mandate that only approved for emergency use. As I mentioned earlier, we have a lawsuit against the FCC and against social media, and it's not just there's a number of other groups that are combining their forces to fight this. We've an airline for people don't wear those stupid face masks and don't want to have required testing or vaccines. So I can tell you this: there are powerful forces out there with resources that are helping with this movement, and our numbers are growing rapidly. And they're getting scared because they are censoring us left and right on social media. This film, Medical Racism, it really scares them because they're censoring this film more so anything else that we've done. They really don't want Black folks to watch this film. And for very good reason, once you watch it. I mean, I've only given you an overview of it. Again, you can go to medicalracism.org, watch it for, or you can go right to childrenselfdefense.org and watch it for free, Medical Racism. So the forces out there, I remember when they first started this with what's his name? Alex Jones, and they censored him. And I know some people were cheering because they didn't like what he said, even though he does produce some good research. I said right then that was the opening, the door opening, and the floodgates are going to run with them censoring everything. And look now, just a few years afterwards, every single thing is being censored. And so we are getting them scared. We to censor. When you have to censor somebody, declaration, it means you're telling a lie that you can no longer defend. So the only thing you can do is silence the person exposing the lies. Well, I'd encourage people, become a member of Children's Self-Defense. I mean, it's only $10. You'll get the newsletter of the and it has a wealth of information comes out every day. You get up to speed on these issues. The services of Dr. Valentine, I've referred people over the years to Dr. Valentine, and every single when they follow the protocols, their conditions have burst. And he's even saved me more than one occasion, like when I had kidney stones, which surprised me because I drink a lot of water. I know this. I've had some challenges, and so I've gained weight, but I'm back into karate practice. I'm trying to do things to finally get this weight off. But in any event, I was drinking a lot of water. So when I got the kidney stones, I was a little surprised. I woke up and I was in pain, and so we rushed to the hospital, and they said it was kidney stones, 2 big stones, and they said they were going to have to do surgery, and there's no way around it was going to pass naturally. And so they made an appointment. They gave me some medicine for pain and gave me an appointment to see their doctor. And so I eventually went to the doctor, met my appointment. And again, she said, yep, you definitely have to have surgery. No ifs, ands. Those stones are pass naturally. And it was a surgery. I reached out to Dr. Valentine. He told me what to do. It was very simple. A few days later, the pain was gone, didn't need any medicine. And then when I had my second appointment with the doctor, she's looking at the x-ray, a state of shock. I said, I don't believe it, they're gone. How's that possible? What did you do? The woman was so irate, she called in another doctor to look at the x-rays. And she said, well, how did you do? What happened? And I mentioned Dr. Valentine. He said, well, this guy could be a millionaire. What's his number? I mean, she was just stunned, but that's like typical for Dr. Valentine. I mean, I've had people who had seen Dr. Valentine, their conditions reversed. So he's a modern day miracle worker. And most people, I have not had the extensive conversations I've had with Dr. Valentine. There were times we'd be on the phone for hours. And I know he couldn't see it, but I would have my book and pen busily trying with everything that he was saying. And when he finished, I had more questions and more notes. And so I know for a fact that Dr. Valentine is one of the world's few multi-geniuses. You're only seeing a very tip of the iceberg. When he gets going, it's just like, so this miracle work is this elder. I encourage everybody, if you feel right now, good, you need to sign up and have regular consultations with them so they can continue to, because it's only a matter of time with all the toxins and things that out there, something that hits you. Better to be able to be steered away from that. And Dr. Valentine and his services can help you with that. So join his organization, sign up for a service consultations. Everybody, a holistic practitioner as to consult with on a regular basis. And so you're not limited to just the things the mainstream media tells us. I mean, like take the face mask, for example. Somebody who wears a face mask, it's just insane. You might as well write stupid on your forehead. And why do I say that? Because the box itself says, will not protect against viruses, will not protect from COVID-19. Now, what kind of stupid are you to ignore what the box is from the manufacturer? They say it won't work, and they have to say that because if they didn't and somebody got sick, well, now they can be sued. So I'll repeat, the surgical mask from, read it or read the package insert. It says, will not protect from COVID-19, will not protect from viruses. Now, unless you're suffering from severe cognitive dissonance, you got to accept at least what the manufacturer says. You may not want to believe me or others, but the manufacturer say, look, my product won't protect you. Wearing them. And, you know, if anybody knows anything about viruses, what they call this, so small, you can fit like 1 million of them on the head of a pen. And so it'll be equivalent, a virus going through the pores inside those face masks will be to a mosquito going through an open window. It's ridiculous. Nothing. You're moving it around and everything else, and nobody's at 24 hours a day. As soon as you get home, you take it off. And so, what is the air inside your apartment is different from the air outside? It's ludicrous. And in fact, I don't even realize that those surgical masks were never designed to be used in that way. They were designed for surgeons to use during surgery so you don't cough in the body of the person they're performing surgery on. But even they have to change the mask like every 20 to 30 minutes because the toxins that build up in the mask and the germs and things. Surgical room, they have air filters to clean the air, but even with the air filters, they still have to change the mask every 20 to 30 minutes. Now, think of the implications for people who wear the same mask all day long, out in the open air with the germs and everything else that's there. And, and your mask creates an ideal breeding ground for germs because it's a warm, moist, dark environment. That's like an orgy for germs. It's equivalent. That's why foot fungus is because inside your shoe and your sock, that's a warm, moist, dark. And so what they found also was when they have done experiments in which they compared surgeries when the doctors for 30 days don't use her surgical mask with the doctors who do use surgical masks, they found that the infection rate of the patients in every single case went down. Think about that. Every single case, infection went down when they weren't wearing surgical masks, which means it's a massive buildup of toxins in that mask that's affecting the patients. And that toxic buildup under the mask is causing a phenomenon called mask smile. What that means, you get diseases from wearing them. They're having tooth decay, and these are so bad that if they're not treated in a timely manner, you can actually die from it. People have been developing all kinds of facial rashes on the face, and these masks are seeding you for cancer. Yes, they are seeding your body for cancer because when you're wearing a mask, you're breathing back in your own carbon dioxide, and the level that you're breathing is very high. I mean, Dr. Del Bigtree had a show in which he had his son on and wearing a mask, a meter that measures the levels of carbon dioxide and put them in the mask. I think the safe level was like 1,000 units or something. This thing jumped off the chart, like 10,000. They couldn't go any higher. So you were breathing back in so much carbon dioxide that it's an extremely toxic environment. And so by breathing back in all that carbon dioxide is making your body more acidic. And in the acidic environment, which Dr. Valentine can elaborate on in more detail, it's the ideal breeding ground for the more acidic you are, the more cancer. That's why they work very hard on an alkaline diet, so it's more closer to a water state. So in a very alkaline environment, there's less opportunity for cancers. So that's only one direction, but you're also denying your body the intake of oxygen. I've seen as much as like 25%. It reduces your intake of oxygen. So you're taking in more carbon dioxide than what you need, and you're denying yourself 25% of the oxygen you're supposed to have, which is the reverse of how you're breathing is supposed to be. Supposed to expel carbon dioxide, breathing in oxygen. But is that a greater chance of grow more efficiently in a low oxidized environment. So by limiting your oxygen, you're also planting seed for the development. That's why oxygen therapy is among the cancer. So these things are news. People are fainting. People are driving and passing out while they're driving. They're having collapsed lungs. Some people have actually died from these masks, and especially the ones who are actually jogging and riding bikes while wearing a stupid face mask on. It's ridiculous. The references are endless. You can go on YouTube. No, not less than YouTube, BitChute. And I even create a website called Face Mask Uncovered. Okay, he's just saying face mask is referenced. You got doctors, scientists, people in the field saying these masks are worthless. Yet you got these people religiously wearing the mask, and then they get mad and people don't wear a mask. Now, when that's happened to me, I've asked, you got a mask on, right? Yeah. And your mask works, right? Yeah. And so if you're a mask, why are you worrying about whether or not I have a mask on? It's insane, the logic that's behind these masks. And now even though we've been telling people for the very beginning, myself, that these masks will not protect you from viruses, will not protect you from COVID. Now, even the government is admitted a year after the fact. Now they're admitting, well, no, the masks are only maybe like 25% effective. Now, so all these people for the past year, we wanted one mask. How come they're not all dying? And now they say, well, what you really got to do is wear two masks, and that'll affect it. So that means you're going to be breathing back in more of your own carbon dioxide, taking in less. You have even greater buildup of germs and things inside that mask. So it's another reason why we cannot rely on the mainstream media. We can't on our traditional symbols of authority. I mean, right now, we're out there telling nations, okay, we've seen some of the biggest names. I won't name names, but you know the types of people I'm talking about on camera, rolling up their sleeves and COVID vaccine and telling everybody to get vaccinated. Now, where's their qualifications to do that? If they really do believe that, then when has one of these individuals opened their trip and said, we're going to have a public debate on vaccines. We're going to bring in the Robert Kennedys, the Del Bigtrees, the Donald Lewis, Andrew Wakefields. We're going to have them on stage to question this COVID vaccine. And we're going to bring in our doctors and scientists who say the vaccine is good. And we're going to public. Does anybody think of any of these church leaders who've done that or offered that? That they've in New York, they've eliminated the restrictions on capacity in churches, so you can have a full capacity. Where's the debate at? No. I mean, the fact is, you know, that the powers that be, I mean, the government and pharmaceutical industry and things, they are targeting our leaders. Now, these guys and women, they done good things in the past, and appreciated for what they've done. Very knowledgeable, but they're not knowledgeable in everything. And they do make mistakes. And this is a life and death mistake. This is not one of those little mistakes. Oh, well, better luck next time. This is life. When you take the vaccine, I'm sorry, but I agree with others that take this position that you're dead. Unless there's some holistic regimens that can help with the symptoms, you're dead. Or dead because you don't want your body riddled with cancers and tumors and God knows what else. So these ministers and these other leaders, politicians who we normally think of as people to look up to, any of them who are telling you to go take this COVID vaccine, you need to challenge them. You need to challenge them publicly because it's not just an error of judgment. This is life and death. They are leading our people to slaughter. And I can say that because I've been at this for like 30 years. And I said that I think this is the most dangerous vaccine ever devised. And I believe billions might die. In fact, I might die, will probably die from this vaccine. I did a Dr. Dave Raz, a PhD, worked in clinical in years, like 4. When we were on, he said, Curtis, well, I think the number is probably close to hundreds of millions as opposed to billions of people are going to die from this COVID vaccine. But later, a couple of months later, he said, Curtis, you know, I think you're right. I think this vaccine will kill billions of people, which is also consistent with Dr. Valentine, who said about the agenda that they have. So this is life and death. We can't afford to have Black ministers, Black politicians, Black sports figures, singers, and actresses giving us advice on serious medical issue when they're not doctors, they're not scientists, and they're not researchers. I'm pretty sure most probably have one book on vaccines. Certainly haven't organized a balanced discussion on this topic. So we should not trust them. We need to challenge them, publicly challenge them on this, and hopefully we can turn them around on this issue so they can get back on the path of doing the positive things that they have done. I'll leave it there.
Excellent, excellent. Brother Valentine, anybody can follow that as you. Go ahead.
Well, you did an excellent job of letting everybody know exactly what time it is. I have only a few minutes left because have another appointment, another meeting. But I will say this. I will say that uh, what Curtis is speaking about, you need to actually not only get his book, but support him. He's been doing this work for as long, pretty much as I've known him. And I want to kind of get it out to the public that health is your only defense, not only your physical, but your mental, psychological, and spiritual health. We here at the University of Commission Sciences and the Institute for Self Mastery, we've tried to set up a small haven, a small oasis towards that effect. We have online school for children starting at the age of 6. We teach online at the Institute for Self Mastery. We teach online to adults at the University of Commission Sciences. And we have specific services to help strengthen the physical, the mental, and the psychospiritual. If you wish to participate, um, just give me a call at our service number, 800 847 1291. Once again, 800 847 1291. We will get back to you. Please make sure that you say your number twice. Do not mumble when you're making the message, because a lot of people, I can't call you back if you're mumbling or if you're speaking and your phone is breaking up. Sometimes the number cuts out just as you said it once and it cuts out and we have to play it over and hopefully catch it. If you do not hear back from us, it's because your number did not come through. Try again, maybe another 2 or 3 days later. But my good brother, Mr. X, Minister X, Minister R, I want to thank you for this kind invitation to be able to address the public, to address our community. Um, Again, be on the lookout if you all are interested in attending my next webinar. Also, that my new website should be going up in the next few weeks. It's called Webinar Archive. I'm going to be archiving all of my lectures that I've done in the past on that site for you to actually stream. But I'm also going to be doing materials that nobody has even seen. And this is going to be for the future as well. That hopefully, well, if you go up online to our university's website, UKSNOW, again, UKSNOW.org, place your email into our website there, to our mailing list, and you'll be getting our newsletter that will let you know our activities. Be on the lookout if you are interested in joining me for the webinar. I have a 14-hour webinar, but I've broken that up down into 3 parts. If you wish to, just give us a call at 800-847-1291, or you can leave a message on my private email at sunnu, SUNNU 777 at Gmail, SUNNU 777 at Gmail, and be on the lookout for a posting of my next webinar, which will be most likely on, I would say, around the 30th of May. The 30th of May is a Sunday, and it will begin at 3 o'clock. On that webinar, I will be breaking down some of the more horrendous things that still we didn't get a chance to touch here, but all of the different technologies, I'll be rehashing some of the stuff I've said 10 years ago, so to bring you up to date and up to speed. Now that it doesn't sound so crazy, I can actually say it as fact for you. So make your notice. We will be putting out a link for you to register for that webinar coming up on the 30th. But stay tuned. Things change, of course. But I want to thank you again, brother, for your kind invitation. Curtis, always a pleasure sharing a platform with you. And at this point, I have to
Thank you.
say, give
Likewise.
thanks. All right, everybody, Family, again, thank you very much for your kind attention. Shamim Hotep.
Thank you. And are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to close up. Yeah, I just wanted to close up by saying those who want to get a copy of my book and see some of the material on the site. Again, the book is Vaccines Are Dangerous, and you can go to my website, www.vaccinesaredangerous.blogspot.com. www.vaccinesaredangerous.blogspot.com. It will really help you understand what's going on today, put everything into a proper context, what's happening, and you have a much clearer picture. And all copies I autograph and date my from the order from my website. Don't go to Amazon, be listed over there, and they're selling collector copies. I understand it's $120. I mean, it's only $24.95 on my website. Anyway, thank you for inviting me on your show. I greatly appreciate it, and yeah, I hope to have another opportunity to come on.
Yes, sir. Thank you again so much for coming on. I greatly appreciate that. I'll continue on, but you can leave whenever you're ready. Again, brother, thank you because our community
Okay,
needed it.
thank you.
No problem, sir. I was brother Curtis Calls
Take
from
care.
Dr.
Bye-bye.
Valentine, and they have done an excellent job in breaking down um, uh, the vaccine, and we've been doing. Brother Keith has done an excellent job. Um, um, Keith and Zoe, especially, and Spike's done an excellent job of giving the information about the vaccine. But a local comrade of mine, Sister Janice, probably watching now. Thank you again, Sister Janice, for orchestrating this entire thing. She seems to know a lot of the brothers and sisters in the conscious community. And then when something needs to be done, she contacts me. Like I said, I get right to it. And so this is more for our community. I mean, we wanted an audience so that Dr. Valentine wasn't talking to one person. You know what I'm saying? He deserved an audience to boot. And obviously, in an hour and a half, if you've seen Dr. Valentine interview, as I know you all have, and usually a good 2 hours is good for him. And so, having had that experience to watch him do interviews, I'm gonna do as less talking as possible, give him a question, and get the hell out the way. That's normally how I do things after having seen those two brothers give information because they know a lot more than I do. And so we, like I said earlier, I don't know if some of you all might have missed that. Um, in my community locally, and I did a video on my Facebook. You are welcome to go to Facebook and follow me, and or send a friend request to Quinn Mr. X. I usually don't have my video on, but this one was special, so I had to, you guys can see your brother lined up a little bit. I don't try to be too clean too much, you know what I'm saying? Um, no problem, brother, no problem. Thank you all for coming and listening. That at a local, what do I want to call that? Football stadium, maybe you can call it, Swinburne Park for the hopefully all of the residents that are listening in, that it was a great number of our youth in the line ready to get the vaccine. And it's interesting that members of the conscious community have a very difficult time getting an audience with our youth to tell them truths like what the vaccine and its irreparable dangers to our people and the history of America and vaccinations and medications and hospitals and so on and so forth with the establishment and it's trying to want to quote unquote heal black people. And we weren't sick until we got in close proximity with them, but we are unable to discuss those things with our youth. But when these things come out, now they have the resources for the youth. We're fighting for things for them to do. The only thing they got for them to do is stand in line and get a needle in the arm, a needle of death. So we had from ages, I want to say from 12 to about 50, and that, like I said, there was a lot of young folks in the line, and so um, yeah. I mean, we're gonna lose close ones. We're gonna lose family members. My mother had the vaccine. Um, My wife's mother got the vaccine, and they said in the numbers of the billions, and we ain't touching none of this stuff. We'll be here. If there's 1,000 of us, we know once it gets, we gotta understand, brothers and sisters, once it gets to a particular level where they feel like, you're talking about if you cut our population in America from, let's say we about 50, 55 million, they cut us to about 12, they're gonna attack. I mean, they're gonna attack. So if you don't, I know some of y'all still believe white folks is good folks. You'll find out when our numbers deplete to that level where they decide, okay, let's get at them now, and that switch flips. And it was a Tom Cruise movie where I forget he was like some type of agent, some type of James Bond type agent, and like he was in the government. You know how they put that kill switch on a government agent, regardless of how amazing you were as a soldier or whatever job that you had. When they flip that switch, because they always following you. You ain't never retired. You ain't never free. You ain't never done. Right. So he was like inactive, and something had went down, and so they put the switch on him. And so as soon as they put the switch on him, his homeboy who was put on him by the state, I mean, boom. And you can feel it, and I forget what movie it was. You can feel it in the movie. And he was his homie, beers, hanging out. Majority port. There you go. Right. And so you remember it was the tall white dude that's funny in all his movies. And he in the kitchen. I remember the scene. He in the kitchen. He got the little text, the tweet or whatever it was. He looked and something told me. I'm like, uh-oh. And he closed the door. That motherfucker was like, wow. And he seemed to be, and he ducked. That's how it's gonna be with us. As soon as we get in trouble, it's gonna be like the Star Wars joint. What they call it? Order 60, like Order 66. You got the little Order 66. All right. I've been in wars with you. I done saved your life. You know what I'm saying? We done broke bread together. You done laid on my shoulder. Oh, the master gave the order. Oh, I got to kill you. You know what I mean? Like, how you gonna kill me? And you saved my life in previous wars. We've been fighting together for 12 years. I know, yeah. All that. All that. Extermination. So, me locally, people who know me locally, I get at the beast in your life. I know you love white people, I get right to it. I get right to it. I'm gonna work on you and work on your side. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get that rip out of you. Because once I get that up out of you, everything they try to give you, you ain't gonna want to take. And you're gonna need some examples. You're gonna need some things that happen to you over and over and over again before you realize the devil is the devil that he is. You know what I'm saying? As Malcolm said, he's gonna show you the devil we say he is. He's gonna show you he's that devil. You know what I mean? When you talk about giving people things, and you talk about a mass genocide, when you talk about people who get an enormous amount of wealth, and now they can talk about world endeavors. He says we operate. Bill Gates operates outside the government. He said if we do a good job on vaccines, we can lower the numbers down and all this other stuff. Dude, who are you? Take your money and go have some fun. But and Brother Valentine has been so gracious to come on and waive an honorarium with a man of that stature, obviously, because of Brother Curtis and doing that show with him, that he waived that. So I'm grateful. A lot of these interviews I get through the spirit of revolution. They don't charge, brother. But most times you gotta get, you gotta break them off because this is a business. This is what they do. They can't, when you start hurling that truth, you can't go to a white man and say, "Here's my resume. Can you hire me for something?" You know what I'm saying? And so, this is their job, and this is what we do. We have to support them. So, scrolling back up, Brother Valentine's Cash App is in here. I do my Cash App spiel for the work that we do, and I'm doing it at a much lower level. My focus is locally to take the national and international information and then present it locally to build something locally. This is the resources it's for. As a matter of fact, I got something for you what I'm using my own money, doing cash prizes, doing incentives to invoke consciousness from the youth. When you start talking money, like, well, what I got to do? Well, I'm gonna hand you this information, and I want you to be very studious. Give me your report card. Let me see what your report card looking like, because we need conscious youths out there. And then the more information they get, the more questions they're gonna ask, and then it powers our media outlets because we want them more into the real black media other than the Breakfast Club. Now, Breakfast Club had Queen of Fool on it, legitimate. So they'll have one. They're on every day, 365 days. All right, maybe not the weekend. So we cut that to a third, maybe 270. But after Lil Uzi Vert and DC Young Fly and this coon and that coon, then you get Queen of Fool. With us, there's no bullshit every day. We bring you the hard-hitting information, the real ish, every day of the week. 7 days a week we bring it. We got our own schedule. When we feel like hitting the live and bringing that information, we're gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's important to support. Cash App right there, Mr. X. I got the growing family. My studio became my baby room, and my baby's about to kick me out of this room too. So I got to move and get some more room so I can have some place that is not inundated with children, so I can continue to do the work. And part of the work is to have children because we're dealing with depopulation control, right? So I'm talking to sisters every day, and they're like, I ain't having no more children. I ain't having no more children. So we practice self-genocide from mid to early 20s to 30s. I converse with this about a myriad of different things. And it's scary when they say, I don't want to have no more children. Some got one, some got none. I'm scared to have children. But we need you to have kids. We're under attack. Okay? You the only factory we got. I'm not going to go to Asian woman to ask for babies. I'm not going to Panamanian or whatever, Panamanian. I'm not going to go to the Filipino. They're close in DNA structure, but no, we want our women. You know what I'm saying? We want our women. And anyway, I'm glad that you all. Oh yeah, Sister Janice. This crew here, we good. This crew here is good. I want to make sure they had an audience, but hopefully the playback, brothers and sisters locally will see it and maybe have second thoughts and personal conversations as well. I mean, if we have to, and that's what I'm good at. We have to take down numbers and call them and talk to them for an hour. When I talk to black folk, it's never wasted time. You feel like you do something and you're like, oh, I wasted my time. Whenever I have a discussion with another black person, it's not wasted time for me. I'm going to bring whatever information, whatever we're dealing with, I'm going to bring the heat. This is Black Hot Fire Network in conjunction with Get Your Hand in My Pocket. We coincide. We like one of the same. We bring the fire. And if we feel like you need this information, we're going to give it to you. You know what I'm saying? You want to do a ride sharing. I ain't really supposed to be doing that. You know what I mean? But, when black people are there, and I start to divulge a little, I just give them a little taste, just a little nugget, a little drop in the water, or a little worm on the hook, dip it in there. Or they start to bite at it, then I go a little further. Before you know it, I had this young man one day. I took him about 45 minutes north from where I'm living, and he was a young biracial, young black man. One drop rule, and he can't control how we got here. And he was in the military, and I told him about some of the challenges he's going to face, and that because he lives in such proximity to his European side of the family, that certain discussions weren't going to be had, that he had to pick up, his role in society through osmosis from these people, right? That racial dominance, racial hierarchy, so on and so forth. And so he had got challenged by a KKK member that he said that they were putting these devils were going to the military to learn these tactics to come back to kill black folks, because he had this interaction with this skinhead, and the skinhead called him a nigga. You a nigga, and you nigga. And I said to him, it was fascinating conversation. I said to him, well, you light. He was real light. And he went back to his superiors because he challenged them, and the young brother whooped his ass. Excuse my language. And he said one or two things. This guy is someone we need to look at. He has a level of consciousness knowing that he's black because I put him in his Negro or nigger place. Two, he's light enough maybe to be a proxy for us, a house Negro, And I gave him that information. I think he was like 19. I gave him that information. I said, because you so light, we have a history of that. We deal with the mulatto and the history of the mulatto in our country and in ancient Africa as well. Chancellor Williams, the Bible of Black Consciousness, deals with the mulatto and how they're used. Now, it's ultimately up to you to decide what your contribution is going to be to movement. Are you going to be the mulatto in the historical context that has always been, or are you going to recognize that you was black and that you'll never belong to them, And so all you got is your brother and sister, because that kind of, our ancestors had that double Dutch thing. You remember double Dutch? You trying to get in. So we know the person we fighting is our brother, but he's been next to Napoleon and them. You know what I'm saying? So he's been brainwashed completely. But we like, that's my brother. He was just like me, but he just really lighter. Now hesitation, pow, he gets shot. You know what I'm saying? So I gave him that because that's just the spirit I'm in. That's just the spirit I move in. But hopefully he remembers that. But anyway, riffing. Um, so, man, I'm done. I'm tired. This is my day off. I thank you all for listening to the show. Doing an excellent job with shows. Uh, Again, thank you, Sister Janice, for bringing this to me. It went pretty smooth. I'm glad it went smooth. Those brothers got back pretty quickly, and we were able to put it on pretty efficiently. Man, I wish everything I did was this smooth. We got 3 or 4 different events coming up. We got a Black History Museum at the end of the month, then Malcolm X Day the following month, then right after that, Black Wall Street, history of Black Wall Street. So we have Beast and Still a Beast. Ooh, this is mean. Yeah, I gotta see what his potion is, and see how much that costs. But I still got Brother Carbonate. Carbonate is another one. I got a few, but Brother Valentine. I gotta watch Brother Rich. See, Brother Rich, man, he's one of the best question askers I've ever seen. Just dealing with the information, and he don't have no pre-script questions. I noticed that when I've listened to so many of these interviews. I'm like, he don't got pre-scripted questions. He just listens to what's going on, and then he come on. I mean, it's unorthodox, right? Because you got journalism and you got the type of questions you're supposed to ask. White folks always try to script stuff, but he really, he's into his soul, man. I'm telling you, these are great questions, and so I try to learn off him because I wanted to get a good enough amount of information, different things. And guys like that, you just throw them a little nugget, and they'll go and they'll just wave you with stuff, and you can take from it. I got a couple people actually. I'm gonna send this to a couple people who got the first round of shots. And so, I mean, it's the second one. It doesn't matter, I don't know, but if I can stop, I don't want to tell them like, look, man, you did. You know what I mean? You got the one shot, you did. I don't want to do it like that. But there's levels to this stuff, man. There's levels to this stuff. I'm telling you, listen, if that's the case, then you got X amount of time to do this work. That's for you being stupid all your life. And for the time that you got left, hell, I ain't get no shot. I can die before they do. You never know. So you wake up every day, continuing to work. You know what I'm saying? But in any case, I'm gonna take off. Y'all getting goofy in the chat. So yeah, I got the brother's number, and I'll be in contact, and we'll see if we can get him on again. Again, if you want to contribute, Cash App. $sign Mr. XR for support. If you got some real food from this live, you got $2. You got real food, you got $2 support the network, so we can do more of this here. And it gives me more time to reach out for different individuals and put them on. And then when that that flow comes in, we can have this and we can grow the channel, because we can scream and yell all day amongst one another. But we get different people on, then we get their people on to our networks. You know what I'm saying? And we grow the network, you know what I mean? And we know at any time they can always shut us down. But I mean, whatever. This is, I mean, this fighting white supremacy is a boxing match. You're not gonna go through no boxing match not getting hit. And this motherfucker is Drago. Everybody that fought Drago got knocked down. The important thing is you got the fuck back up. Now Apollo didn't, but that's I already dealt with that. But his son did, and we gotta be. The Adonis creed as opposed to Apollo creed. Some of y'all motherfuckers are Apollo creed. And I got knocked out and then get back up. But we got to be Adonis, and we got to get up, and we got to keep fighting. You know what I'm saying? So that's us here. We ain't studying nothing like that. We're gonna continue to be fighting. Again, I want to thank y'all for coming in. Share the show. I appreciate it. Exports, sports revolutionaries. Wasn't no sports today. Were those sports? But I'm sure. I hope that you enjoyed the dialogue, enjoyed the presentations. This good old fashioned teaching. So, and as you know, I like Michael X, Mr. X, and you see all the Malcolm figures behind me. Peace to your brother. All right, Wakanda forever. Peace, y'all.